Okay, YouTube is happy now. So the case ending in 337, you're saying, Ms. Patel, you think you've got everything. You had asked about body cam, and Ms. Sellers is telling you she's not finding any.
Right, but Your Honor, upon further review, I did look at an email, and I don't have 911 from the incident, so I will follow up with Ms. Sellers about that, but I did reach out to her just to see if there was anything else outstanding.
All right, well, I'm going to move it along. We'll see where the other case goes. So how about the case ending in 770, the aggravated assault?
Your Honor, I've been in touch with Ms. Hall. It appears that they have not provided her with the remaining discovery yet. This was a hate-filled police incident, and so we've been struggling with getting my client's phone dumped. The officer had dumped my client's cell phone, and what they supposedly found would be helpful in my negotiations with Ms. Hall. In addition, one of the witnesses had 2 written statements that the police report makes mention to. They have not provided that to Ms. Hall yet. They haven't provided her with body camera, if that exists, and any recorded statements with the victim. They haven't provided that to the state yet either.
All right. Mr. Wright, why don't I hear from you before I'm remembering this case now and I'm feeling my blood pressure rising again. Mr. Wright, why don't you tell me what's going on with Mr. Harris? And I assume that's Mr. Harris in the back. Yeah, he just waved. There he is.
Yes, sure.
What do you not have from Hateville PD?
Your Honor, the same list that Ms. Patel just announced to the court. In fact, we were chatting back and forth about some of those very items. Sort of the same situation. While I have what I guess Ms. Hall's been able to give us, we don't have, clearly there's those 2 written statements by a so-called eyewitness. And then again, if there is a phone dump, of course, I definitely want to know what's in there, as well as if there is any body cam footage or other recorded statements, especially of the alleged victim. Those are sort of essential for us to prepare and move forward.
It does sound like that. Ms. Hall, what's the latest from your end? And I know you have been trying, and I think you even enlisted Ms. McCauley to help break through this bizarre wall. I won't call it a wall of obstruction yet, but it's certainly not a wall of cooperation from the Hateville Police Department.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I think the case that you're referring to that Ms. McCauley was helping me with is a different case. That was the hijacking case. We have had issues with Hateville on this particular case, but it was more of an issue of them giving me everything that they had in their system and me looking at that information once I provided it to defense counsel more than once, and it being the same information. So the last time we were in court, we informed you about the phone records. I had spoken with the actual investigator who investigated this case, who thought he was on leave at that time, but he thought that everything that he had was given to me by the assistant that was helping me at Hateville. The last that we left court, you wanted us to let you know when we had everything, so that we as in all the attorneys knew that we could move forward with negotiations. I wasn't prepared for this case to be put back on the calendar as quickly as it was. So I haven't received everything, although I've confirmed that some of this stuff do exist. I don't have everything yet. And so that's where we are with the case. I haven't received this information that we're waiting on. Once I receive it, I will pass it along, but it just requires time. This information that we're getting, it was a mistake by Hateville, the administration. And once we did get in contact with the correct person, which was the January, because I was on leave for 2 weeks at the end of December after this case, then now we're proceeding to get this information, but now it's on the calendar. So sounds like an excuse, but it's not, because you told us to let you know when we were ready, and we're not.
Well, yes and no. What I wasn't going to do was wait indefinitely for a case from 2019. Here we are in 2021, and some real basic stuff still hasn't been provided. we were last in court or on a screen over 2 months ago. So it's not that it's just been 2 weeks and I'm saying, all right, state, what's going on with a case from 2019? So I'm not waiting indefinitely. Ms. Hubbard shouldn't have to wait indefinitely. Mr. Harris shouldn't have to wait indefinitely. And there's a victim here. Someone got shot, I assume. That person should be pretty upset that this case has been derailed. There's no closure on that end. It does take time, but time has its limits. And I'm not interested in further extending this. So what I'm going to do is ask Ms. Patel and Mr. Wright to jointly submit to me a discovery deficiency notice that puts in writing what you've shared with me. And I'll rule on that and we'll move forward from there.
Yes,
I guess I'm a little confused, Your Honor, because in this situation, you told me that I had time to retrieve this information. I understand that's not indefinite, but if I'm relying on that and also still working up the cases that we are moving forward on, and we're constantly in court, that's me not having a clear understanding that I actually do have time to get the information rather than, oh, it's back on the calendar and it's a deficiency order being granted for something I was told I'll have time to get.
So this calendar was published how many weeks ago, Ms. Hall?
I'm not sure.
Okay,
I stopped keeping up with when the calendars were produced.
All right, well, therein lies your problem. And I'm sure you and your supervisor can work through that. But new year, new approach. I'm not interested in having conversations about, gosh, I just looked at the calendar yesterday when you've had it for a few weeks.
That's not
Also
what I
not
said,
really
Your Honor.
interested in hearing about you're always in court, because of course you're not always in court. We have had some activity, but there's been downtime as well. And it's all about balance. We have a very low caseload in this division. We got great news with our latest report, and we're doing well because you all work hard. I want to acknowledge that, but you have some colleagues out there who've got double the number of cases. You're going to need to figure out how to prioritize. You also, my suggestion would be when the calendars are published, take a look at them and say, uh-oh, there's Hubbard and Harris. I've had to tell the judge now 2 or 3 times, not getting what I need from Hapeville. And we've been working together long enough. You probably know I'm not going to want to hear again that Hapeville's not getting you what you need to get. So that's where I am with this case. Mr. Wright, Ms. Patel, please do what I've asked. If between now and the time I'm dealing with a discovery deficiency, Ms. Hall, you are able to squeeze out of Hapeville the things that these defendants were constitutionally entitled to many months ago, then I will process that as well. Let's move to position 4. Ms. Hubbard, you are free to go. Mr. Harris, you are free to go.
Thank you.
Your Honor, may I also be excused?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Judge. Good to see you.
Position 4 is Mr. Carter. I see him there in his car. This is a case with Mr. Franklin. There's Mr. Franklin. Good afternoon, Mr. Franklin.
Good afternoon, Judge.
Case was on in early January, reset for notice. Clearly notice got to Mr. Carter because there he is. We're on for final plea. What is the defense announcement? Can we handle the final plea?
We can handle final plea. So what happened was the last court date, Mr. Carter did not appear. He had received information from his bonding company that he didn't need to come or need to figure out a way to appear virtually. So it was a
He received notice from whom?
The bonding company.
Oh, bonding company. Okay.
Yeah. So he was misinformed. So it wasn't an intentional missing of a court date, but
okay.
At any rate, we spoke. I spoke with Ms. Hall yesterday, and I was informed that someone else will be taking the case over because it is domestic violence in nature. And I've not had a chance to speak with that particular DA. And I don't want to get her name incorrect. I know it's Asia.
I think it's Ms. Beja, something
to that effect. I don't want to get her name all the way wrong, but
okay.
It wasn't until yesterday I realized that that the DAs had changed. Prior to that, we had been in discussions about a dead docket situation. It's a 2017 allegation. It was indicted, a September 2017 indictment, September 2017 incident, indicted in February of 2020. Complaining witness doesn't want to prosecute that kind of situation. So,
okay. But you haven't had a chance to plug in with this new lawyer who doesn't seem to be plugging into this call. Ms. Hall, do you know anything about what, first of all, can you help us with the last name of the domestic violence prosecutor?
I don't know what it is, Your Honor, but I'll reach out to her and see if she's going to join the Zoom.
Okay. All right.
but I can say, Your Honor, from our end, there's not a plea we would have taken today at any rate. There's not any discovery that is owed. I've talked to the complaining witness. So we're fine with going forward through final plea today. If there is to be an agreement of some sort, which again, I don't really see, I don't expect it to be one where you would reject whatever agreement we could potentially come to.
So then my thought would be, so you can have a meaningful discussion with the ADA, and Ms. Rolak has confirmed it. It's spelled B-A-Y-S-A-H. I think it's pronounced Beza, or Beja. You need to talk with her. But there are no discovery issues, so we could move this case to a trial calendar and just preserve Mr. Carter's final plea rights. And if between now and the trial calendar date, you sort something out with Ms. Beza, you can always let us know. But that way we keep Mr. Carter's case moving, and it has a resting place other than we're resetting it again for the same process. Or I think I heard you say, we can go ahead and do the final plea. I just don't want Ms. Hall to be stuck in a position of saying, well, the offer is X when it's not her case anymore.
Correct. Yeah, I'm fine with whatever a short reset would be to give myself and Miss Besa a chance to actually exchange.
Okay. I'm not real interested in a reset. What I'll do is have Ms. Nelson get this on a trial calendar, but we will put it on another calendar much sooner than that if you, Mr. Franklin, and Ms. Beza reach some resolution. If you're at loggerheads because she's coming in saying, nope, charges like this tend to serve, then we'll have it in the right place because it'll be on a trial calendar, and Mr. Carter will have preserved his ability to withdraw a plea if he doesn't like the outcome of a plea. Does that work?
That works.
Okay. Mr. Carter, you've been listening real patiently. Any questions about that?
No, sir.
Okay. You remain under the conditions of your Reggie Cagle bond, so please make sure you keep complying with them. And just stay in touch with Mr. Franklin. He will be connecting with this. When I say it's a new lawyer, she is not a brand new lawyer. She's new to this role. She and Mr. Franklin will talk, and if they sort something out, we'll get together and do that sorting. All right. Anything else, Mr. Franklin, in Mr. Carter's case?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Carter. You're free to go.
Have a good day. Thank you.
All right. That gets us to Mr. Withers.
Good afternoon, Judge.
Are you Mr. Withers?
Yes.
How you doing?
I'm great, and yourself?
I am doing okay. Mr. Withers, you are on the calendar because Ms. Patel filed a motion to terminate your probation.
Yes.
And I'm going to pull your case up on my screen just so I can look into a little bit of this, and we'll make a plan here.
All right, thank you.
So it's your understanding, Ms. Patel, that Mr. Withers has done everything he needs to satisfy the requirements of the behavioral incentive date which was a year, not quite and a half ago. And so he ought to be terminated.
Yes, Your Honor. I have not been able to speak to his specific probation officer. I've called a few times, did not receive a call back. However, I was able to speak with Ms. Crawford. She indicated at least when she looked in the system, there wasn't any outstanding restitution amount, and that I believe he is currently on non-reporting status.
Okay. I'm just pulling up the final disposition here. So I sentenced Mr. Withers.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's good to see you again, Mr. Withers.
We've cut my hair since then, so.
All right. And let's see what we've got here. You needed to pay restitution, stay away from the U-Haul place. And if everything had gone well by November 9th, you were in a position to have your probation terminated. Ms. Hall, this was not ever your case, it sounds like. Have you had a chance to look at the file at all? Do you have a stance? Do you want to hear from Ms. Crawford?
No, Your Honor, I didn't have any objections to the termination of the probation. Me and Ms. Rolak was looking in to make sure to confirm that the restitution was paid in the case, the old case, but we was confirmed that it was paid up, so there was no objection to the termination from our part.
How do you confirm that the restitution's been paid?
Well, we were trying to, and when I couldn't get the information, I reached out to Ms. Patel, and she confirmed that it was paid.
Okay, but do you also check with probation, or is there a secret DA system that talks about restitution?
No, usually I don't check with the probation if I can confirm without checking with them if it was paid. Usually that's something that they add if it's on the, I always just like to check in case they left it off because it's a part of the condition. Because then there's no issue for us. So I just checked myself just to make sure that we weren't terminating it and then it wasn't.
No, I'm with you on that, but I'm just curious how you do it. If it's not checking with probation, do you have Ms. Rolak check with the victim?
Yeah, she'll reach out to the victim if we can get in contact with them. If we can't, then we'll check with the defense or next case probation. Probably probation second, but I'm still learning here. So I always go to defense counsel to see if I can get more information.
Okay, got it. Okay, Ms. Crawford, good afternoon. What does your system say about how Mr. Withers has done on probation, whether the restitution was paid?
Judge, he has a restitution balance of 0, so his restitution has been paid off. The last report date shows that he has been changed to unsupervised, and it says that they verify his employment. He had no problems, no arrests, and no run-ins with the law.
Okay.
So he's good on my end.
Good on your end. Mr. Withers, what's your job these days? It looks like he might be frozen there. Can you hear us, Mr. Withers? Are you able, Ms. Patel, to connect with Mr. Withers?
I have a number, so I will give him a call right now.
Hey, Mr. Carter, you're free to go. You're welcome to stay on the call. I don't know if you were.
There was a matter I forgot to ask you about, Judge, so I told him to log back on.
Oh, okay. If you want to talk about Mr. Carter, we can do that right now. We lost our last position.
I'm sorry, Judge. Could you repeat that?
Yes. Did you say you still wanted to talk about Mr. Carter, or you personally wanted to talk to Mr. Carter?
No, there was a matter, a bond condition that we wanted to ask about.
Okay.
A part of the bond condition, he is to stay away from Lacey Blake. That is his girlfriend. That's been the bond condition since. It's been a bond condition for a while, but it's not a bond condition that, per my conversation with her, she desires.
Is she the alleged victim in the case?
There are two complaining witnesses in the case. One of them, her mother is deceased. She died of natural causes a couple years ago.
Okay.
He's the other person. So yeah.
Got it. So if there had been a stay away in the bond, it would be against someone who's deceased and then against Ms. Blake.
Correct.
All right. I guess what I'd need to get is something from Ms. Blake or from Ms. Rolak or Ms. Beza indicating that they've confirmed that.
Okay.
But if they represent that they have spoken with Ms. Blake and she is telling them she doesn't want the stay away condition in the bond, then or if they don't oppose it, but I assume they'd want to talk to her to not oppose it, then I don't mind modifying it. Ms. Rolak, have you had contact with Ms. Blake?
Good afternoon, Judge. I have had contact in the past with Ms. Blake. This last time that I tried to reach her, maybe 3 times, I was not able to get through to her. I texted her as well, so her phone seems to still be working.
Well, let's do this. My guess is that Mr. Carter is able to get Ms. Blake to call you back. So, Mr. Franklin, if I get an email from Ms. Hall and or Ms. Rolak, meaning if Ms. Nelson gets the email copying you saying we've spoken with Ms. Blake and she would like to have the stay away condition removed from Mr. Carter's bond, I'll do that. But Ms. Blake needs to call Ms. Rolak or Ms. Hall back.
Yes, sir. I'm going to reach back out to her because I spoke to her yesterday.
Okay. So I'll just look for that email from Ms. Nelson to that effect, and we'll make it happen. Anything else in Mr. Carter's case?
No, if I do it fast, I was going to see if I could just get her to log on. If that would be sufficient as well.
All right. Well, we'll be on for a few more minutes. So if that happens, that's great. Otherwise, we've got plan B.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. All right, Mr. Withers, you're back. Can you hear me?
Yes, sorry about that, sir.
No, that's all right. These things happen. So tell me what you do for a living these days.
I do videography and photography. I had a business called Disposition Productions.
Are you
since the whole
say that again?
I was just saying, since the whole COVID happened, I was employed and I was I go from there because of the COVID. So now I'm on unemployment. So I decided to start a business. I had a newborn child, so I stay home with him while I conduct my business.
So you run your own business or you work for a larger company that does videography?
No, I started my own business, sir.
Okay. What's it called?
Disposition Productions, LLC.
All right. How long have you been running your own business?
Well, I've started, it's been about a year now. So I moved in Florida after my last probation. And then when I moved to Florida, I started it.
So you're calling us from Florida?
Yes, sir.
Where are you in Florida?
In Miami.
Miami. Okay. And how do you do videography right now? Like who wants you at their event or what kind of?
Well, there was just an artist by the name of Safari. He was at the local club. So I got hired to go do there. I have an Instagram with all my work on it. Most of my footage on there is work that I've done. So, and I have scheduled for Memorial Day. I have 4 gigs going on with the same promotional team. So I just been, putting myself out there, working, and staying out of trouble, trying to make a living for myself.
Good. And you're saying you are down in Florida living with one of your kids?
Yes, I just had a newborn. He's now 1. So I've been here for the last year. Been staying, stable employment until COVID, stable living situation. I provide for my family. I've been doing very well out here as far as that.
Good.
And,
How many kids do you have?
Total, I have 3. Which was to my next point, if you didn't mind, I wanted to ask a question because when I came before your court, I had custody of 2 other children. I have a 13-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old son. The day that I got sentenced, I got locked up on October 13th of 2016 for a failure to appear. And what happened was my ex at the time, my children's mother, she received a letter at her address and never told me. And so I had spent 30 days in jail and lost custody of my children. So my question was, am I able to find out, because you received something that morning between 8 and 9 a.m. to let you know that I was there. And I was trying to see if the other party is the one who did the submitting, because I would have showed up to court when y'all first indicted me. I did not know I had this court case.
So I'm not sure what it is you are asking me to do. I understood you got locked up for failure to appear. That's been cleared up. You're not locked up anymore. You entered your plea, et cetera. What you need to try to show DFACS or someone who deals with child custody that in fact the failure to appear was not your fault. You didn't know you needed to be there.
Well, I'm fighting that per se. Well, I'm going through a dispute with the children's mother and I'm trying to regain custody. And she's the one who received the letter and she knew and never informed me. And that's the only notification I had to go to court and I never received that.
So you want a copy of the notice that went to that address?
Well, no, I would like to, I'm going through the records that morning between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. We scheduled for 9 and she was an hour late showing to court, which I thought I would win by default. And she came with her attorney. And then I was informed that I had a warrant out for my arrest. And when I looked in the system, you just signed off on it or something was signed off and sent you that morning. So I was just trying to use that for my records because there was a malicious intent to get me locked up with withholding that information to receive custody of my children.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, maybe you and Ms. Patel can talk offline. If you're just trying to get your hands on a document that is in the record, we can make that happen. I'm not sure what it is you're saying I signed off on, but if there's some document I signed, it's probably a public document and we can get it to you. I do understand what you're trying to do to get your kids back in your life. And if there are ways to support that effort, then we can do that. Did you have other questions?
No, that's all. That was my only concern, and be done with probation finally.
So I noticed on your final disposition, your sentence, it lists Robert Withers, AKA Rashawn Day. Remind me what your actual legal name is.
My legal name as of today is Rashawn Day. What I did was in 2013, I went through a spiritual awakening and I did a legal name change. And so that I did a legal name change in 2013. So the paperwork that they had my previous name. And so I let them know, clarified that with them. And that's why they added the Rashawn Day, because I let them know that I did a legal change.
So your birth name is Robert Withers, but you, as an adult, legally changed your name to Rashawn Day. That's correct.
And for the sake of the court, they kept my name the same because that's what they indicted me on.
Okay, well, I mean, it's not for the sake of the court. My guess is that you had a driver's license or when they ran your fingerprint, something came up, Robert Withers, which is a name associated with you. It's just not your name anymore. So I'm happy to call you Mr. Day. Just when your case from way back when comes up, it has the Withers name on it, but I will call you Mr. Day. So you're in Florida, you're in Miami, you're working, you're taking care of your kid. Who else lives in your house or apartment that you live in besides you and your 1-year-old?
Me and my spouse as well.
Okay, so you're married.
No, we're not married yet. We do have plans for the next year.
So when you say spouse, that's aspirational.
And yeah, sorry for the terminology. My girlfriend.
Okay. All right. She may be happy that you're calling her spouse, but it doesn't sound like you've made that happen yet. And what is your girlfriend's last name?
Simillion.
Simillion?
Yes, sir.
What does she do?
She works from home. So while she's working at home, I watch my son throughout the day, and I also have my gigs. And if I get a gig, I get a babysitter.
But what does she do from home?
She works for Office Depot.
Doing what?
Customer service, taking orders, helping. She's a specialist. She helps with anything that people need as far as they need information, sales, things of that nature.
Okay, got it. Well, it sounds like a productive household. Well, I don't want to prolong this. Ms. Hall has reviewed it on behalf of the district attorney's office and does not have an objection to terminating your probation. We sort of stopped using these behavioral incentive dates. They're still on the books as things we can do. And maybe when we get up and running with a more regular pace and get people in court, we'll think about applying those to folks where it makes sense to do it. It made sense to do it in your case, and unfortunately, only belatedly are we triggering it. But I will terminate your probation given that you paid restitution and have otherwise stayed out of trouble and have been heading in a good direction. Mr. Day, do you have any other questions?
No, I just have a statement. I just want to thank everybody and apologize for my actions again, for everybody having to be involved in this situation. So I did learn from my mistakes, and thank you for everything that you did in trying to help me and clear my mind the day that I did see you. So.
Well, we'll also give a shout out to Ronnie Poole, who was your lawyer on that case. I guess it followed me to the new division I'm in. I have other public defenders here, but you're welcome. Keep doing the right thing for your kids and your spouse to be, and for you. Ms. Crawford, anything else we need to cover, or you'll get the right paperwork to Ms. Nelson when you're able?
That's correct, Judge. Nothing further from me.
Okay. All right. That's it, Mr. Day. Again, if there's some kind of paperwork you're looking for that relates to this FTA, talk with Ms. Patel about it. She can be looking in the system, and if it's something she can help you with, she will. If it's something I need to assist with, she can reach out to me. Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, Ms. Patel, anything else on behalf of Mr. Day?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Hall?
Nothing
Okay.
from the state, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Day, you're free to go. I'll sign the magic paperwork once it gets sent to me, okay?
Thank you again.
All right.
Have a blessed day.
Mr. Franklin, I see that Ms. Blake has joined us.
Yes.
Hey, Ms. Blake. So you are one of the alleged victims in Mr. Carter's case. Mr. Franklin has told me that there were two people who are alleged to have been victims of Mr. Carter's behavior. One, I think, is your mother, who is now deceased, unfortunately.
Yes.
And then the other is you. It's
Yes.
still an open case, so we're not going to talk about the substance of it all that much. The piece that I'm interested in hearing from you about is the stay away condition. So Mr. Carter got a bond, I don't know how long ago, it may have been before I was on the case, but either way, Mr. Carter got a bond, and a condition of that bond, I guess I should call it up while we're talking here. One of the conditions of Mr. Carter's bond is that he is to have no contact with you.
And I wasn't aware of.
Well, we're making you aware of it. Let me get the bond up. Wow, it's an old bond. It's from November of 2017. So yeah, nothing to do with the bond. It's a $20,000 bond. And the number one condition is that Mr. Carter have no contact with you and Alfreda Coleman. Would that have been your mom?
Yes.
Okay. It sounds like, from what I'm hearing from other people, but I need to hear it from you, that that's not a condition you think is necessary.
It's not. Since then, we've been back together. My mother is no longer living, so she's not here to testify on her behalf or justify what was said at the time. So,
Okay, and I'm not focused on your mom. There's no point for a stay away order in her situation, of course. But what you are telling me is that you don't need in place conditions that would keep Mr. Carter away from you until his case is resolved.
right. Like I said, I wasn't aware of it, so it's no need for it.
Well, not being aware of it doesn't mean there's no need for it. My question is, are you concerned in any way for your safety and would like to have Mr. Carter stay away from you until his case is resolved?
No, sir.
Okay. Couple other things. Ms. Rolak, who you can see on the screen there, is the victim advocate, a victim advocate from the district attorney's office. She's tried to reach you a few times to talk about things just like this. And she's had a little trouble getting you to call back. Any reason why you're not comfortable circling back with her?
She was probably calling my business phone number, and then everybody that's called my phone on this case, I don't want to talk about it. I'm only talking about it because I have to right now, and they're calling my phone. If I don't have to talk about it, I'm not going to talk about it. Like I said,
okay. And you don't, I want to be clear, you don't have to talk about it. I just want to make sure they've got a good number to reach you because it sounds like Mr. Carter's lawyer would like you to be talking with the state as well. But I'm going to let Mr. Carter's lawyer, that's Mr. Franklin there on the call, talk to you about that. I just wanted to make sure we had open channels of communication. So I think I have followed this. Mr. Franklin, was there anything else you wanted to cover with Ms. Blake on the call?
No, sir. I spoke to her yesterday. She had told me she had spoken to a few people from the DA's office and repeatedly kind of told them one thing. I don't think that was Ms. Rolak that she spoke to. So I just want to reiterate to her what I said yesterday. If she calls, then, you know, just tell her what happened and tell her what you feel.
Okay. Ms. Hall, I know this isn't your case going forward. Are there anything you want to share with Ms. Blake at this time?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, Mr. Franklin, if you will submit to Ms. Nelson a proposed order modifying the bond, she'll look at that and get it to me.
Yes, sir.
All right. Anything else on behalf of Mr. Carter?
Nothing else for real this time.
All right. Well, the way we left it, so everyone's clear, is that it's going to a trial calendar. We're preserving final plea rights, and you, Mr. Franklin, will figure out how to connect with Ms. Beja, and I apologize again to her if I'm mispronouncing the name. And if something gets sorted out so that we can deal with it before trial calendar, you or that ADA can let Ms. Nelson know, and we'll get everyone together. In the meantime, I will sign the order modifying the bond that will get Mr. Carter out of harm's way if he's around Ms. Blake. All right, I think that's it. Ms. Hall, anything else?
Nothing further from the state.
Okay. Mr. Franklin?
Nothing further. Mr. Carter and Ms. Blake can log off.
All right, I think that's it. We have, I guess, a calendar tomorrow afternoon. I've got some sessions with appellate lawyers on motions for new trial in the morning. And then I guess we've got it's our cycle of the Zoom jail calendar in the afternoon. So I'll see folks at 1.
Yeah, so there's nothing else with the calendar. If you could end the YouTube, we did want to have a conversation with Your Honor, the attorney.
Oh, okay. Uh-oh, ganging up. Yeah.